Hello and welcome to Lantern Lane Stories. Tonight's story is Amaya and the Sacred Lake. The stars were still awake in the sky when Amaya felt her grandmother's hand on her shoulder. "Come, little one," her grandmother whispered. "We must walk to the sacred lake while the world still dreams." Amaya's eyes were heavy with sleep, but she sat up. Something felt different today, important somehow. The cold mountain air bit her skin as they stepped outside. Their breath made small clouds of white. Around them, the high Andes peaks faded into gray-blue shadows. No sun yet, only the dark and the stars. "Why must we go so early, grandmother?" Amaya asked, wrapping her woven blanket tighter. "Because," her grandmother said, pausing to smile down at her. "Today we witness something our people have done for many lifetimes. A new chief will be chosen, and you are old enough to see it." Amaya's heart began to beat faster. A new chief, but what happens? "First, we walk," her grandmother said gently. "Then you will understand." The path wound up and up through the mountains. Amaya's small feet found stones worn smooth by hundreds of other feet who had walked this same path on this same holy day. The air smelled of earth and morning and the smoke from distant cook fires. Somewhere a bird called a long, lonely sound. Her grandmother's sandals made soft whispers on the stone. Sometimes Amaya had to take 2 steps for every one of her grandmother's. As they climbed higher, the mist grew thicker. It wrapped around their legs like something alive and breathing. "The lake breathes in the morning," her grandmother said as if reading her thoughts. "Soon you will see her face." They climbed past places Amaya had never seen before. Past small caves with offerings left inside, clay pots, woven cloth feathers. "Who left these things?" Amaya asked. "People like us," her grandmother said. "People who come to ask the lake spirits for blessing, for health, for good harvests, for their children to grow strong." Amaya thought about that. She had never known the lake had spirits who listened. "Are they listening right now?" she asked softly. "Always," her grandmother said. "They listen especially on a day like today." When they reached the top of the ridge, the mist suddenly parted there. Below them, the lake. Amaya stopped walking. She could not look away. The lake was perfectly round, like a giant hand mirror lying flat on the green earth. The water was so still it looked like polished stone, gray and blue and somehow silver all at once. The lake, her grandmother breathed, Guatavita, the heart of our world. More people were gathering on the slopes around the lake. Amaya saw families with children, priests wearing white cotton and wreaths of herbs, drummers carrying instruments of wood and hide, craftspeople carrying baskets of woven goods. Everyone moved quietly, reverently. No one laughed or called out. The sound was only of feet on stone and the wind moving through the mountain grass and the soft tapping of things being set down. The sun was starting to touch the peaks now, turning the snow gold. "Where is he?" Amaya asked. "The new chief?" "He comes from a sacred place in the valley," her grandmother said. "He has been fasting since yesterday. He has been praying. His spirit is being made ready." The smell of incense began to drift across the hillside. Amaya recognized it, the burned resin her mother used when someone was sick to call the good spirits. Drums began to sound. One drum, then another, then more. The sound echoed off the mountains like a heartbeat. "Amaya," her grandmother said, taking her hand, "hold tight to what you're about to see. You may only see this ceremony a few times in your life. Remember every detail." The drums beat louder. The people became even more still. Amaya felt something shift in the air. The light changed. Even the water of the lake seemed to listen. "He comes," someone whispered nearby. Amaya craned her neck, searching through the crowd. Her heart was beating as fast as the drums. The new chief walked slowly down the ridge and the crowd parted to let him through. He was young, not much older than Amaya's older brother. His name was Susa. She heard someone say he would be their leader now. He walked with his eyes closed as if he could see better with them shut. Several priests walked with him, carrying sacred baskets. When Tiskezua reached the water's edge, he stopped. He opened his eyes and looked at the lake. Then the priests began their work. They brought a clear resin that stuck to the skin like tree sap. They covered the young chief's whole body with it, smoothing it gently over his arms and legs and chest. The resin made his brown skin shimmer. Now the gold, her grandmother whispered. But it was not gold coins. It was not gold ornaments or weapons or anything cold or hard. It was powder. The finest, softest gold dust, like the pollen that coats a bee's legs. The priests took it from the sacred baskets, handfuls of glowing gold, and began to blow it gently onto Tiskezeusa's skin. The young chief stood still while the gold settled on him like a morning frost. It clung to the resin, covering every inch of his body. In the rising sun, he began to glow. He looked like the sun itself had come down and wrapped itself around a human being. Amaya gasped. She could not help it. Beautiful, yes, her grandmother said softly. But do you know what you are really seeing? What? Amaya whispered. Our love for the water spirits, our respect, our thanksgiving. The gold is not treasure to keep, it is a gift. Now the priests were bringing the raft. It was made of bundled reeds, lashed together with plant fiber shaped like a boat. On it sat baskets of treasures, emeralds the color of new leaves, golden pieces shaped like tiny people and animals, shells that shone like pearls. Two priests helped the golden chief step carefully onto the raft. He sat in the center, his skin burning with light. 4 men, the strongest men of the village, began to push the raft toward the center of the lake using long poles. The water was so clear that Amaya could see their legs beneath the surface, pale and slightly bent in the water. The drums continued. A woman began to sing, her voice high and mournful and beautiful. Others joined her. The raft moved to the very middle of the lake, to the deepest, most sacred place. When it could go no farther, Tiskezeusa, the golden chief, rose to his feet on the small raft. For a moment he was silhouetted against the sky, golden, human, and holy all at once. Then, slowly he bent forward. He dove into the water. The crowd gasped. Amaya's stomach jumped into her throat. The golden chief was underwater, and Amaya could see him there, sinking slowly, his arms extended like a bird's wings. The water washed the gold dust from him in slow clouds, turning the water around him golden. At the same moment he dove, the priests on the shore began to throw the sacred treasures into the water. Emeralds scattered like falling leaves. Golden pieces tumbled through the air and splashed into the lake. Shells and stones and gifts, all falling, falling, falling. Where do they go? Amaya asked, her voice small. Down, her grandmother said, to the spirits of the water, to say thank you, to say we honor you, we remember you. When Tiskezeusa rose from the water, the gold was gone. He was simply a young man again, wet and dripping and shining with water drops. But his eyes were different, deeper somehow, as if he had left something of himself down there in that sacred place and brought something back. The priests wrapped him in white cloth. The drums slowed. The singing faded. It was done. As the sun climbed higher and warmed the mountain, the crowd began to move down the slopes. People spoke softly to one another, but most were quiet, as if they had just woken from an important dream. Amaya and her grandmother walked slowly, not rushing. Grandmother, Amaya said, her voice still hushed. Why did he wash off the gold? It was so beautiful. Her grandmother was quiet for a moment, thinking, Tell me, little one, she said finally, if you had something very, very precious, something you loved, and you gave it as a gift, would you feel sad? Maybe a little, Amaya said. But I would also feel happy because I was giving it to someone I love. Exactly, her grandmother said, smiling. That is what Tiskesusa did. He took our most precious treasure, gold that comes from the rivers and the earth that took us much labor to gather, and he gave it to the lake spirits. He washed it away. He let it go. But why? Amaya asked. Does the lake need gold? No, her grandmother said. The lake does not need gold. But the spirits of the lake know that we have given them something we love, and so they will bless our crops, they will keep our water clean, they will protect our children, they will remember us, and we will remember them. Amaya was quiet, thinking about this. They walked past the sacred caves again. This time, Amaya understood what the offerings in them meant. They were small gifts from small hearts, trying to stay connected to something larger and more wonderful than themselves. The strangers who came from across the ocean, her grandmother continued. They heard stories of our ceremony, but they heard it wrong. They thought we were trying to hide a city of gold somewhere. They thought gold was money and power and something to hoard. But it was not, Amaya said. No, little one. It was prayer. It was gratitude. It was love given to the water and the land that hold us. By the time they reached their home again, the sun was high and warm. The world looked ordinary again. But Amaya knew it was not. She knew that underneath every mountain, every lake, every river, there was this web of gratitude connecting people to this sacred world. That night, as the sun began to set over the Andes, Amaya lay on her sleeping mat with the day still glowing in her mind. She could still see the golden chief diving into the water. She could still hear the singing. She could still feel the moment when everything held still, and the whole world was prayer. Her grandmother lay beside her, already breathing slowly and deeply outside. The mountains grew darker and cooler. The sky turned purple, then deep blue. The first stars appeared, and so Bogotá also slowly fell asleep. Good night.